Have you ever wondered if the Bible we know today might be missing critical pieces of the puzzle, details about creation, the patriarchs, and even the very laws of God? For centuries, believers have looked to the canonical scriptures for guidance and understanding of divine history. However, one ancient text claims to offer deeper insights into these mysteries, the Book of Jubilees. Preserved in the Ethiopian Orthodox Bible and cherished by certain Jewish sects in antiquity, the Book of Jubilees is a reinterpretation of Genesis and Exodus that adds layers of narrative and theological complexity. It describes a world governed by divine jubilees, or cycles of 49 years, where celestial beings play central roles in shaping human events. It revisits familiar stories such as the creation of the world, the lives of the patriarchs, and the covenant of God, but adds vivid new details and strict legal interpretations. The book claims to reveal heavenly insights dictated by an angel to Moses on Mount Sinai, presenting itself as a divine supplement to the Torah. It emphasizes an unyielding adherence to the laws of God, describes a solar calendar in place of the lunar calendar used in traditional Judaism, and offers alternate perspectives on key biblical events. In short, it aims to fill in the gaps of the canonical scriptures, providing believers with a fuller picture of God's divine plan. But there's a twist. The Book of Jubilees was banned from most of the Christian world. Despite its rich content and bold claims, it was excluded from the Jewish and Christian canons, and it fell into obscurity in all but a few traditions. What made this text so controversial? Why was it rejected while other writings were embraced? To uncover the answers, we must journey back to the origins of the Book of Jubilees, explore its theological implications, and examine the historical forces that led to its exclusion from the Bible as we know it today. The Book of Jubilees is a unique and fascinating text, often described as a reimagining of the stories found in Genesis and Exodus. Its primary focus is on the lives of the patriarchs, figures like Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, and their descendants, who played central roles in God's plan for humanity. These stories, while familiar to many through the Bible, are told in a way that adds new details and layers of meaning. Jubilees was written during the 2nd century before the Common Era, a time of great turmoil for the Jewish people. The nation was under the influence of Hellenistic culture imposed by the Seleucid Empire. Many Jews struggled to hold onto their faith and traditions in the face of foreign pressures. In this context, the Book of Jubilees emerged as a call to return to the roots of their covenant with God, a pure and uncorrupted faith based on strict obedience to divine law. At the heart of the Book of Jubilees are the patriarchs, who are portrayed not just as ancestors of the Jewish people, but as shining examples of unwavering faith and obedience. For instance, Abraham, often called the father of faith, is depicted as someone who not only trusted God's promises, but also rigorously observed God's laws even before they were formally given. According to Jubilees, Abraham celebrated festivals, observed dietary laws, and kept the Sabbath in anticipation of the covenant that would later be formalized with Moses. This portrayal elevates him as a model of perfect obedience. Jacob, renamed Israel, is described in greater detail as the father of the 12 tribes. Jubilees highlights his struggles and triumphs, emphasizing his deep devotion to God and his role in shaping the destiny of his descendants. Through these stories, Jubilees underscores a central theme. God's covenant with the patriarchs is unbreakable, but it comes with the expectation of total loyalty and adherence to divine commandments. One of the most distinctive features of Jubilees is its concept of sacred time. The book divides history into a series of jubilees, periods of 49 years, each marked by significant events in God's plan. According to Jubilees, this structure was revealed to Moses by an angel on Mount Sinai. It portrays history as carefully orchestrated by God, with every event occurring according to his divine schedule. For example, the births of key figures like Isaac and Jacob, as well as the giving of the covenant, are all tied to these sacred cycles. By framing history in this way, Jubilees emphasizes that God is in complete control of time and events. Nothing happens by chance. Everything unfolds according to his plan. Jubilees doesn't just retell familiar biblical stories, it adds new details that give readers a richer understanding of the patriarchs' lives. The book describes the youth of Abraham in greater depth, portraying him as someone who rejected the idolatry of his time and sought after the one true God. It offers additional insights into Jacob's relationships with his sons, particularly the moral struggles that led to the conflict with Joseph. These expansions don't just fill in gaps in the biblical narrative, they serve a purpose. By presenting the patriarchs as ideal figures who lived in strict obedience to God, Jubilees calls its readers to emulate their faithfulness in their own lives. Jubilees was more than just a historical account. It was a plea to its readers. At a time when Jewish traditions were under threat, the book reminded its audience of their identity as God's chosen people. By focusing on the patriarchs' lives and their unwavering faith, Jubilees encouraged its readers to recommit to God's laws, reject foreign influences, and trust in his divine plan. This emphasis on covenantal faithfulness made Jubilees a powerful text for its time. However, its strict interpretations of the law and additional revelations also set it apart, making it controversial in the eyes of later religious leaders. This controversy would play a key role in its eventual exclusion from the biblical canon. With its focus on the patriarchs and God's divine order, Jubilees offers a compelling narrative of faith, obedience, and the unfolding of sacred history. It's a story that remains powerful, even for those unfamiliar with its theological context. The Book of Jubilees was not simply another retelling of the biblical narrative. It positioned itself as a corrective, claiming to restore and expand on God's original revelations. However, its bold reinterpretations and additions to Scripture put it at odds with traditional Jewish practices and beliefs, leading to theological conflicts that eventually contributed to its exclusion from both Jewish and Christian canons. One of the most contentious issues raised by Jubilees was its rejection of the lunar calendar traditionally used by Jewish communities. In the Torah, the lunar calendar serves as the basis for determining the timing of major festivals such as Passover, Yom Kippur, and Sukkot. By contrast, Jubilees advocates for a solar calendar consisting of 364 days, arguing that this system is divinely ordained and aligns perfectly with the cycles of creation. Jubilees criticizes the lunar calendar as a distortion of God's original intention, even going so far as to warn that observing it could lead to the desecration of sacred days. This accusation directly challenged the authority of Jewish religious leaders who had long upheld the lunar calendar as central to communal worship. By promoting a solar calendar, Jubilees implied that the traditional system was flawed and that those who followed it were straying from God's will. This disagreement over the calendar was more than a technical dispute. It symbolized a deeper divide over who held the authority to define and interpret sacred time. The adoption of the solar calendar by certain sectarian groups, such as the Essenes at Qumran, further heightened its association with separatism and nonconformity, alienating it from mainstream Judaism. Jubilees also intensified the legal demands of the Torah, introducing stricter interpretations of Sabbath observance, dietary restrictions, and ritual purity. For example, It prohibited even minimal activities on the Sabbath, such as lighting a fire or preparing food, reflecting an extreme form of Sabbath observance that went beyond the requirements of the Torah. Dietary laws were expanded to include additional prohibitions on consuming blood or certain mixtures of foods. While the Torah provided a framework for holiness, Jubilees sought to enforce an almost unattainable standard of legal purity. This rigidity aligned with the practices of fringe groups like the Essenes, but alienated many Jewish communities who embraced a more balanced approach to the law. Moreover, Jubilees introduced new commandments that were absent from the Torah. For instance, it prescribed specific rituals for certain occasions and claimed that these were revealed by an angel to Moses on Mount Sinai. These additions created tension with established Jewish traditions, as they implied that the canonical Torah was incomplete or corrupted. Religious leaders likely viewed this as a challenge to the integrity of the scriptures and their authority to interpret them. Jubilees' exclusivity and insistence on a narrow interpretation of the covenant also set it apart. The book portrayed the Jewish people as the sole recipients of God's favor, emphasizing their separation from other nations and their obligation to remain pure. While this perspective reflected concerns during the Maccabean period, when Jewish identity was under threat from Hellenistic influences, it also contributed to the book's divisive tone. By aligning itself with separatist groups, Jubilees deepened the perception that it was a text for a specific faction rather than the broader Jewish community. Its insistence on rigid boundaries between the righteous and the wicked left little room for compromise, making it less adaptable to a diverse and evolving religious landscape. When Christianity emerged, it initially shared some interest in Jubilees due to its apocalyptic elements and emphasis on divine judgment. However, as Christian theology evolved, the book's legalism became a major point of contention. Early Christians emphasized salvation through faith and grace rather than strict adherence to the law. Jubilees, with its unrelenting focus on legal obedience, was at odds with this emerging doctrine. Furthermore, the book's portrayal of celestial beings, particularly angels, complicated its acceptance within Christian theology. Jubilees elevates angels as central mediators of God's law and keepers of heavenly records, known as the celestial tablets. These tablets contain the divine plan for humanity and record every human action, underscoring the idea that angels play a critical role in enforcing God's will. While angels were respected in Christian thought, their prominence in Jubilees risked overshadowing the direct relationship between God and humanity through Christ. Christian leaders likely saw this as conflicting with their core message and an unnecessary complication to the theology of salvation. Perhaps the most significant reason for Jubilees' exclusion was its claim to be a divinely revealed text that supplemented and even corrected the Torah. By adding new laws, altering timelines, and expanding on the roles of the patriarchs, Jubilees risked undermining the authority of the established scriptures. Religious leaders feared that accepting it could lead to confusion and division within their communities, especially as they worked to unify diverse beliefs under a single canon. The controversies surrounding the Book of Jubilees reveal much about the struggles to define orthodoxy and maintain unity within religious communities. Its exclusion was not merely about theological disagreements, but a reflection of the tension between tradition and reform, inclusion and exclusivity. Yet, one must wonder if this text, with its intricate laws and cosmic vision, had been embraced. How might it have shaped our understanding of the divine? To fully grasp Jubilees' profound influence, we must look beyond its conflicts with tradition and explore its vision of the end times, the role of celestial beings, and the divine order it seeks to establish, a vision that continues to intrigue and inspire those who seek deeper insight into God's plan. Building on its focus on strict laws and divine order, the Book of Jubilees extends its message by presenting a grand vision of the cosmos and humanity's ultimate destiny. This vision intertwines themes of the end times, the role of angels, and the restoration of God's eternal covenant, painting a picture of a universe carefully structured and guided by divine purpose. Jubilees looks forward to a time when all of creation will be restored to the perfect order intended by God. It describes the end times as a period of divine judgment where the wicked will face punishment and the righteous will receive their promised blessings. This isn't just a theoretical idea, it's deeply tied to the lives of the patriarchs, whose stories are used as examples of how to live righteously in preparation for this ultimate reckoning. For instance, Abraham's unwavering faith and obedience are highlighted as the gold standard for all believers. His willingness to follow God, even under extreme circumstances, is presented as the model of faithfulness that the righteous must emulate. Similarly, Jacob's persistence and Joseph's moral integrity offer templates for the kind of lives that align with God's will. This vision of the end times is not just about judgment, but also about hope. It promises the restoration of a perfect relationship between God and humanity, where sin and disorder are eradicated, and creation is brought back into harmony with divine intentions. In Jubilees, angels play a significant role in maintaining God's order. They are not just messengers, but active participants in enforcing divine law and overseeing the cosmic balance. One of the book's most intriguing ideas is that of the celestial tablets, heavenly records that contain all of God's plans, the laws of creation, and the deeds of humanity. According to Jubilees, angels safeguard these tablets and ensure that God's will is executed precisely. The idea of these records reinforces the belief that every action, from the smallest human deed to the rise and fall of nations, is overseen by divine beings. This adds weight to the moral choices humans make, emphasizing the need for vigilance and adherence to God's commandments. The centrality of angels and the celestial tablets in Jubilees reflects a vision of a highly ordered universe. Everything operates according to God's design, with angels acting as divine administrators and humanity as participants who must align themselves with this order. A key aspect of Jubilees' vision is its concept of sacred time, which is tightly linked to God's eternal covenant with humanity. The book divides history into Jubilees, cycles of 49 years, each marking significant milestones in God's plan. This structure is not arbitrary. It reflects a belief that time itself is holy and that human history unfolds according to a divine schedule. In this framework, the lives of the patriarchs and major biblical events are carefully placed within these sacred cycles. For example, the covenant with Abraham, the birth of Isaac, and the journey of Jacob are all positioned as key moments in a preordained timeline. By presenting history in this way, Jubilees emphasizes that God is in complete control, guiding events toward the ultimate fulfillment of his promises. This sacred timeline leads to the restoration of the eternal covenant, a state where humanity lives in perfect harmony with God's laws. In this vision, sin and disorder are eliminated, and the world is restored to the purity and righteousness that existed at creation. This eternal covenant is not just a promise for the future, but a call for believers to prepare themselves by living faithfully in the present. Jubilees' grand vision of the end times and the celestial order may seem distant and abstract, but its core message is deeply practical. It challenges readers to consider how their actions align with a larger, divine purpose. If every deed is recorded on celestial tablets and every moment is part of God's sacred timeline, how should one live in response? The text invites us to reflect on our relationship with God's laws, our role in the cosmic order, and the hope of a future where righteousness prevails. By framing the present within the context of eternity, Jubilees offers a perspective that is as inspiring as it is humbling, a call to live faithfully, not just for today, but in anticipation of a divine future that has been planned since the beginning of time. The Book of Jubilees presents a vision of faith that is both inspiring and challenging. It reimagines the lives of the patriarchs, portraying them as models of obedience to God's laws. It introduces the idea of sacred time, governed by divine jubilees, and describes a universe meticulously ordered through God's will, with angels playing an active role in maintaining this celestial harmony. At its heart, Jubilees is a call to live in alignment with God's divine plan, a plan that unfolds through history and culminates in the restoration of all things at the end of time. This grand vision of the end times and the celestial order makes Jubilees unique, but it also contributed to its rejection. Its strict interpretations of the law, such as its advocacy for the solar calendar and its expanded commandments, created tensions with Jewish traditions. Additionally, its portrayal of angels as key mediators of God's will and the celestial tablets recording every human deed made its theology more complex, distancing it from the emerging Christian emphasis on direct relationship with God through grace. Despite being excluded from the canon, Jubilees leaves us with profound insights. Its portrayal of the patriarchs challenges us to reflect on what it means to live righteously. Its concept of sacred time asks us to consider whether our lives align with the rhythms of divine purpose, and its vision of a cosmic order where every act is significant and history moves toward a final restoration invites us to see the world through the lens of hope and responsibility. Jubilees ultimately raises a thought-provoking question. If every moment of history is part of God's plan, what role do we play in that unfolding story? The book's vision may feel distant or unfamiliar, but its core message, that faithfulness to God's laws and trust in His plan lead to restoration, remains deeply relevant. Perhaps Jubilee's exclusion from the canon was not the end of its story. Instead, it serves as an invitation to engage with its message, to consider the weight of our choices, and to reflect on our place within the grand design of creation. Its cosmic perspective reminds us that while the world may seem chaotic, everything unfolds under the watchful eye of a God who is both just and merciful. What could be more encouraging than that? Thank you for exploring the fascinating story of the Book of Jubilees with us. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our channel for more content, diving into the mysteries of Scripture and history. We'd love to hear your thoughts. What did you find most interesting about Jubilees, and what topics would you like us to cover next? Drop your suggestions in the comments below. Your feedback helps us create content you'll love. Enoch wrote the Book of Enoch after being taken by two angels to the heavens to witness the wonders of the celestial realm. Upon returning to earth, he was transformed into Metatron, the most powerful angel closest to the throne of God. The Book of Enoch contains forbidden knowledge, including mysteries about angels, the fall of angels, and prophecies about the end times, which were excluded from the official Bible. In this video, we will explore the profound teachings of the Book of Enoch, uncovering the knowledge rejected by the Church. Then, we will journey with Enoch through the 10 heavens, discovering their beauty and the divine secrets hidden within. If you find this video fascinating, be sure to like and subscribe to our channel for more insights into the hidden mysteries of the universe. The Book of Watchers. The Book of the Watchers begins with a shocking revelation. 200 angels, led by Semjaza, descended to earth from the heavens. Their mission was to watch over humanity, but instead, they succumbed to desire. They interbred with human women, an act strictly forbidden in the heavenly order, and from this unnatural union were born the Nephilim, giants of immense size and strength, who became tyrants and warlords, dominating the earth. This account expands on a brief and cryptic passage in Genesis 6, 1-4, which mentions that the sons of God saw that the daughters of men were beautiful, and they took them as wives, and that from them were born the Nephilim. But Genesis does not explain who these sons of God were, nor their role in corrupting the world. The Book of Enoch fills in these gaps, presenting a dramatic cosmic rebellion that led to chaos and destruction. The fallen angels did not merely take human wives, they also introduced forbidden knowledge to mankind. According to the Book of Enoch, each of these angels taught dangerous secrets that humans were never meant to know. Azazel taught men the art of war, crafting swords and shields, bringing warfare and bloodshed into the world. Semjaza instructed them in sorcery, opening the doors to magic and forbidden rituals. Barakijal revealed the hidden mysteries of astrology. Kokabel taught them the constellations, leading men to seek power through the stars rather than through God. Shamsiel unveiled the mysteries of the sun and moon, altering the natural order. Unfortunately, what was meant to be divine knowledge became a source of corruption. Instead of enlightenment, it brought violence, greed, and oppression. The Nephilim ruled as cruel giants, plundering resources, enslaving humanity, and even turning to cannibalism when food became scarce. The world descended into chaos, and divine intervention became inevitable. This theme, divine beings imparting forbidden wisdom to humanity, mirrors Genesis 3, where the serpent tempts Eve with the fruit of knowledge, leading to the fall of mankind. But while Genesis attributes sin to human disobedience, the Book of Enoch shifts the blame to supernatural beings, suggesting that evil on earth was not merely a result of human choices, but rather a cosmic war between divine forces. Seeing the devastation, the archangels Michael, Gabriel, Raphael, and Uriel were sent to capture the Watchers and present their crimes before God. Divine justice was swift. The Nephilim were sentenced to complete destruction. To cleanse the world of their wickedness, God unleashed the great flood, wiping them from existence. The Watchers were imprisoned in the abyss, bound in darkness until the final judgment. Azazel, the chief corrupter, was buried beneath the desert, sealed away in eternal torment. This judgment is reflected in 2 Peter 2:4, which states, God did not spare the angels when they sinned, but cast them into hell and committed them to chains of gloomy darkness to be kept until the judgment. The Apostle Jude also references this event, suggesting that early Christians were well aware of Enoch's writings. The idea of angels mating with humans and actively playing a role in corrupting mankind contradicts mainstream Christian theology, which largely attributes sin to human free will. Enoch's supernatural explanation for evil presents a more mystical and complex narrative than the canonical Bible allows. But the fall of the Watchers was only the beginning. Their corruption had set something greater into motion. Was their rebellion merely a precursor to an even greater event? A divine reckoning and the coming of the Messiah. The Book of Parables. The Book of Parables shifts its focus to the future, unveiling a vision of the end times centered around a mysterious figure called the Son of Man. This title, which later became central in Christianity to describe Jesus Christ, has a distinct meaning in the Book of Enoch. In Enochic literature, the Son of Man is portrayed as a celestial being, pre-existent before creation, hidden by God until the appointed time. When he is finally revealed, he comes with divine authority to judge the wicked, establish a kingdom of righteousness, and sit on a throne of glory for eternity. This vision closely parallels Daniel 7:13-14, where a figure like a son of man is granted dominion and an everlasting kingdom by the Ancient of Days. The New Testament echoes this imagery, particularly in Matthew 24:30, where Jesus refers to himself as the Son of Man, who will return in glory. Despite these similarities, there are crucial distinctions between the Son of Man in the Book of Enoch and Jesus Christ in the Gospels. The Book of Enoch presents this figure as an exalted cosmic being who has existed from the beginning but remains hidden until the final judgment. Unlike Jesus, he does not take on human flesh, nor does he suffer for humanity's sins. His role is primarily that of a divine judge who condemns the wicked and vindicates the righteous. Whereas Jesus in Christian theology is both judge and savior, he does not merely execute justice, but also offers salvation, sacrificing himself for the redemption of humankind. The Book of Enoch does not explicitly present the Son of Man as a suffering Messiah. Instead, he is a sovereign figure who appears only at the appointed time to carry out divine justice. This contrasts with the New Testament portrayal of Jesus, who identifies himself as the Son of Man, but first comes in humility, willingly enduring suffering and death before his return in glory. While Enoch's Son of Man represents the fulfillment of divine judgment, Jesus encompasses both judgment and redemption, bringing grace to the world before executing justice at the end of time. This distinction highlights a fundamental difference between the Enochic and Christian eschatological visions. In the Book of Parables, history unfolds in a deterministic manner, leading inevitably to the moment when the Son of Man enacts divine retribution. There is no mention of atonement or personal salvation, only a final reckoning. In contrast, the Christian understanding of history is shaped by the idea of redemption, where Jesus' suffering and resurrection provide humanity with a path to salvation before the final judgment. Could these differences indicate an evolving messianic expectation, where ideas about divine judgment and salvation developed over time? Or do they reflect separate traditions that later converged in Christian theology? Enoch's next vision delves even deeper, revealing a symbolic timeline in which history itself follows a hidden pattern, encoded in divine revelation and waiting to be uncovered. The Book of Dreams. The Book of Dreams is one of the most mysterious sections of the Book of Enoch, containing a series of visions that depict human history in symbolic form. Unlike the previous sections, which focus on cosmic events and divine judgment, this book presents a prophetic timeline of past, present, and future events. Through allegorical imagery, it claims to reveal the rise and fall of nations, divine interventions, and the ultimate fate of the world. What makes this section particularly fascinating is its apocalyptic tone, resembling the prophetic books of the Old Testament, particularly Daniel and Ezekiel. However, it also introduces unique elements that do not appear in the canonical scriptures, leading to speculation about its significance and suppression. The Book of Dreams is divided into two major visions, both given to Enoch as revelations about the fate of humanity. The first dream vision provides a retelling of the events leading up to the Great Flood, focusing on the corruption of the Watchers, the rise of the Nephilim, and the eventual destruction of the world. However, it expands upon the biblical account, emphasizing the spiritual consequences of humanity's descent into sin. This aligns with Genesis 6-9, where God sends a flood to cleanse the earth. However, the Book of Dreams suggests that some Nephilim spirits survived, remaining on earth as wandering spirits, an idea that does not appear in the canonical Bible, but is referenced in later Jewish and Christian demonology. The second dream vision, often called the animal apocalypse, is the most cryptic and controversial part of the book. It presents the history of Israel from creation to the final judgment, but instead of using traditional historical records, it depicts key biblical figures as animals. Adam and Eve appear as white bulls. Cain is a black bull, while Abel is a white one. Noah is symbolized as a white bull with red horns. The Israelites are represented as sheep, while their enemies, Egyptians, Assyrians, and Babylonians, are portrayed as wild beasts. This vision mirrors the structure of the Book of Daniel, which also uses animal symbolism to represent empires and rulers. However, the animal apocalypse goes beyond Daniel, prophesying a future age when the Messiah, depicted as a great white bull, will restore divine order, vanquishing evil once and for all. If history is written in symbols and visions, then perhaps the Book of Dreams was only a prelude to something even greater. But Enoch's revelations did not stop there. His next vision claimed to unlock the mysteries of the final judgment of all souls. The Epistle of Enoch. The Epistle of Enoch delivers the most solemn and direct warning in the Book of Enoch, a final, inescapable judgment where every soul will face the consequences of their actions. Unlike the earlier sections, which describe celestial events and hidden knowledge, this part focuses entirely on the moral and cosmic fate of humanity. While it shares some similarities with the Book of Revelation, it also presents a distinct vision that diverges from the biblical narrative in key ways. In the Epistle of Enoch, humanity is divided into rigid categories based on righteousness and sin. Those who have followed divine law and lived in purity will be welcomed into God's eternal presence, where they will experience unending joy and divine favor. Their names are inscribed in the Book of Life, and they will inherit a renewed creation free from corruption. This echoes the promises found in Revelation 21:1-4, where a new heaven and earth replace the old. Yet Enoch places a stronger emphasis on predestination. Those deemed righteous were chosen before the foundation of the world. Conversely, the utterly wicked, those who have defied God, oppressed the righteous, and spread evil, will be cast into an abyss of fire, a place of eternal destruction prepared for both them and the fallen angels. This imagery is strikingly similar to the lake of fire in Revelation 20:14-15, yet with a significant difference. The Book of Enoch does not suggest a resurrection of the dead before judgment, as in Christian eschatology. Instead, judgment appears final from the moment of death, with no possibility of redemption or restoration. However, beyond these two groups, a third category exists, those neither entirely righteous nor completely wicked. Their fate remains ambiguous. Some interpretations suggest they are separated from the righteous, awaiting further judgment, while others propose their punishment is severe but temporary. Unlike the Bible, which introduces the possibility of millennial rule under Christ in Revelation 24-6, the Book of Enoch lacks the concept of a 1,000-year reign, where some may yet be saved or restored. Instead, it presents a more immediate and absolute division of humanity into fixed destinies. This rigid separation in the Epistle of Enoch reflects a different theological outlook from the Bible's depiction of salvation history. The Book of Revelation presents an eschatological process where Christ's return initiates a final opportunity for restoration and renewal before the ultimate judgment. In contrast, Enoch emphasizes an unalterable cosmic order where each soul's fate is sealed and no future kingdom of grace intervenes. Yet, judgment is not the final revelation Enoch receives. His last vision transcends morality and prophecy, venturing into the mysteries of the cosmos itself. In it, he attempts to unveil the hidden laws governing creation, time, and the celestial realms. secrets that had remained concealed since the dawn of existence. The Astronomical Book. The Astronomical Book, also known as the Book of the Heavenly Luminaries, is one of the most enigmatic sections of the Book of Enoch. Unlike previous chapters, which focus on divine judgment and prophecy, this book shifts its attention to the workings of the cosmos, as revealed to Enoch by the archangel Uriel. It presents a detailed vision of celestial mechanics, attempting to explain the paths of the sun, moon, stars, and winds, not as random natural forces, but as elements functioning under divine law. At the heart of the Astronomical Book is its attempt to describe a structured and ordered universe, but many of its claims contradict modern astronomy. It asserts that the sun and moon are equal in size, and that celestial bodies move through heavenly gates, fixed points in the sky, where they rise and set. The book also describes the seasons as being controlled by angelic forces rather than axial tilt or planetary motion. Most intriguingly, it suggests that stars are living entities capable of sinning and being punished if they stray from their divinely appointed courses. This perspective reflects an ancient worldview in which all elements of creation, even inanimate celestial bodies, are deeply intertwined with divine will. One of its most striking features is its promotion of a 364-day solar calendar, which stands in contrast to the traditional lunar-based Jewish calendar. This calendar, described as divinely perfected, was later embraced by the Qumran community, the sect responsible for the Dead Sea Scrolls, suggesting that certain Jewish groups saw it as a means to restore an ancient, divinely sanctioned method of timekeeping. The insistence on a solar calendar may have also been a rejection of the Babylonian-influenced lunar system that had been adopted by mainstream Judaism. While many of the Astronomical Book's descriptions appear symbolic, they reflect a broader theological point. The universe is not governed by chance or impersonal forces, but by divine order. In the ancient world, astronomy and theology were deeply connected, and early readers of Enoch may not have viewed these descriptions as mere speculation, but as a revelation of hidden cosmic laws. This belief in a structured, God-ordained universe would later influence both Jewish and early Christian thought. Although much of its cosmology is now considered outdated, the Astronomical Book offers valuable insight into how ancient societies understood time, celestial movements, and the relationship between creation and the divine. Whether read as a sacred cosmology, an ancient attempt at science, or a theological allegory, it remains a fascinating testament to humanity's enduring quest to understand the heavens. The removal of the Book of Enoch. The Book of Enoch remains one of the most enigmatic and controversial religious texts in history. Once revered by early Jewish and Christian communities, it was gradually excluded from the biblical canon, surviving only within the Ethiopian Orthodox tradition. But why was it removed? The process of Enoch's exclusion was not immediate, but unfolded over time. In the early centuries of Christianity, some influential church fathers, including Athenagoras, Clement of Alexandria, and Tertullian, held it in high regard, with some even advocating for its inclusion in Scripture. The Epistle of Jude even directly quotes Enoch, Jude 1:14-15, demonstrating its influence on early Christian thought. However, by the 4th century, the book had been largely rejected by the emerging Orthodox Christian tradition. The councils of Laodicea and later church synods played a role in solidifying the biblical canon, favoring texts that aligned with established doctrine while disregarding others deemed too speculative or theologically problematic. One major reason for its rejection was its supernatural content. which presented a worldview that differed significantly from the developing theology of the early church. The Book of Enoch describes fallen angels, the Watchers, taking human wives, teaching forbidden knowledge, and producing the Nephilim, a race of giants. This narrative added a level of complexity to the problem of sin and evil that differed from the doctrine of original sin, which was gaining prominence in Christian theology. Additionally, its detailed descriptions of the afterlife, where different souls receive varying degrees of judgment, contrasted with the simpler, more uniform vision of heaven and hell that would later dominate Christian eschatology. Another factor in its exclusion was its messianic themes, which introduced the Son of Man as a pre-existent celestial figure long before Jesus' ministry. While some elements of Enoch's messianic vision parallel Christian teachings, others diverge, suggesting a figure whose role is more focused on divine judgment rather than atonement and redemption. The ambiguity surrounding the identity of this Son of Man may have contributed to theological concerns among church authorities, who sought to consolidate a more unified Christology. In contrast, the Ethiopian Orthodox Church preserved the Book of Enoch as part of its biblical tradition. This may be due to the relative isolation of Ethiopian Christianity, which developed independently from the theological and political debates that shaped Western and Eastern Christian traditions. Additionally, Ethiopian Christianity has historically maintained a broader and more flexible approach to Scripture, where the distinction between canonical and non-canonical texts is less rigidly enforced. The fact that Enoch was removed from mainstream Christianity, yet remained a sacred text in Ethiopia, highlights the diversity of religious thought and how different cultures determine what is considered divine revelation. While its exclusion was likely a theological decision, ensuring that only certain narratives about angels, the origins of evil, and the coming of the Messiah were preserved, it may also have been a matter of control, defining the boundaries of what was deemed orthodox belief. Beyond doctrinal concerns, one of the primary reasons for its suppression may have been its radical content. Its cosmology, which describes a structured universe governed by celestial laws, conflicted with emerging Christian and later scientific perspectives. Its apocalyptic vision, which portrays a world dominated by supernatural forces, may have been considered too speculative, even dangerous, in an era when church leaders sought to establish a more structured and rational theology. Whether removed for political, theological, or doctrinal reasons, the Book of Enoch continues to provoke debate, offering an alternative perspective on biblical history and the nature of divine justice. Enoch, the great-grandfather of Noah, was the only man who walked so closely with God that he never tasted death. One day, he mysteriously vanished, taken by angels into heaven. But his journey was more than just an ascent. He passed through 10 distinct heavens, each revealing deeper layers of divine order. Some realms shone with blinding light, where angels worshipped eternally, while others were abysses of darkness, where fallen beings lay imprisoned, awaiting judgment. His experiences recorded in the Book of Enoch unveil a vision of heaven far beyond traditional teachings. For now, join us as we ascend with him and uncover the mysteries of the 10 heavens. The first heaven. Enoch ascended, and suddenly he found himself in a vast expanse filled with winds, clouds, and shifting lights. This was the first heaven, the closest to the earthly realm, yet still beyond human reach. Here, the skies stretched endlessly, filled with forces that govern the natural world. Rain, snow, thunder, and mist, all controlled by angelic beings appointed by God. He saw great storehouses where the winds were kept, ready to be released at their appointed times. Lightning flashed, held in place by celestial guardians, while the angels of weather and seasons moved in perfect harmony, recording the climate of the world below. Then, beyond the clouds, Enoch beheld something even more astonishing, a vast cosmic ocean, shimmering like liquid crystal. This was the waters above the firmament, the very waters God separated from the earthly seas. Genesis 1:6-7. These waters held a terrifying purpose, for Enoch would later understand that in the days of his great-grandson Noah, God would release them upon the earth to cleanse it of its wickedness. Yet, this was only the lowest of the heavens. Above him lay realms of far greater mystery and power. The second heaven. As Enoch ascended beyond the first heaven, he entered a realm of twilight and despair. The air grew heavy, thick with an eerie stillness. No sun or moon shone here. Only a dim, unnatural glow cast flickering shadows upon a vast prison of jagged black stone. Suspended above a bottomless abyss, great chains stretched across the chasm, binding enormous figures who hung upside down, their once radiant forms now twisted in suffering. These were the Watchers, the fallen angels who had descended to earth, taken human wives, and corrupted mankind with forbidden knowledge. Their rebellion had led to chaos, birthing the Nephilim, giant offspring that ravaged the world. As written in the Book of Watchers, "And I saw the Watchers bound in a terrible place, hanging with their heads downward. And I asked, 'Who are these?' And the angel said, 'These are the ones who transgressed against the Lord, who mingled with the daughters of men. They shall remain here until the great judgment.'" 1 Enoch 21:6-10. Around them stood mighty angels, clad in fiery armor, their faces stern as they wielded flaming swords to guard the prison. No plea for mercy would be heard here, unlike the glorious heaven described in Christian tradition, where angels dwell in eternal worship before God, Revelation 4:8-11. This was a hidden realm of punishment unknown to men. In mainstream biblical accounts, fallen angels are cast into the abyss, 2 Peter 2:4, but here they are imprisoned within the heavens themselves, far from both God's throne and the earth they once corrupted. But if even angels could suffer such a fate, what awaited sinful men? And what greater mysteries lay beyond? The third heaven. As Enoch ascended into the third heaven, the suffocating darkness of the second heaven gave way to a realm of indescribable beauty. A vast celestial garden stretched endlessly before him, where golden-leaved trees bore luminous fruit, glowing softly like captured starlight. The air was rich with the fragrance of flowers unknown to earth, their scent filling him with peace. Beneath his feet, the ground was covered in grass softer than silk. 4 great rivers flowed through this paradise, carried milk, honey, wine, and oil. At the garden's heart stood the magnificent tree of life, its radiant branches stretching into eternity. Around it, the souls of the righteous, clothed in dazzling white, walked in tranquility, lifting their voices in songs of praise as angels moved gracefully among them. This was paradise, untouched by sin and death, preserved in its purest form. But as Enoch turned, the light dimmed, and a horrifying sight emerged. Beyond the garden's edge yawned a massive chasm, tearing through the heavens like an open wound. Unlike the flowing rivers of paradise, this abyss seethed with smoldering darkness and searing flames. From within, agonized wails echoed, the voices of the damned, imprisoned in torment for their defiance of God's law. Here, sinners writhed in invisible chains, their suffering unbearable yet incomplete, for their final judgment had not yet come. A river of molten lava, thick like liquid iron, flowed endlessly into the depths, feeding the abyss. Towering angels of punishment, clad in blackened steel and crowned with fire, moved among the condemned, their eyes glowing like embers. They wielded whips of flame and spears wreathed in lightning, carrying out divine retribution with neither mercy nor hesitation. Unlike traditional teachings that separate paradise and hell, Enoch saw both realms coexisting within the third heaven. The righteous and the condemned were divided, yet they remained in a state of waiting, their final fate still unfulfilled. Here, heaven was not just a place of reward, it was also a place of judgment, where destinies were sealed long before the final reckoning. If even the righteous must wait for their final reward, what greater mysteries awaited in the heavens beyond? The fourth heaven. As Enoch ascended into the fourth heaven, he entered a realm of dazzling radiance, unlike the paradise below or the abyss of the fallen. The sky stretched endlessly, filled with celestial bodies moving in perfect harmony. Before him, the sun, moon, and stars were not mere lights but mighty forces, each governed by angelic beings of immense stature. The sun burned with divine fire, the moon glowed with silver brilliance, and the stars pulsed as if breathing in celestial rhythm. Legions of angels moved with purpose, clad in garments woven from light. Some recorded the passage of days on golden tablets, while others tended colossal spinning mechanisms, wheels of fire and crystal that marked the flow of time. These were the celestial timekeepers, guardians of cosmic order. One angel turned to Enoch and said, "The sun does not rise by its own will, nor does the moon wax and wane by chance. All things follow the decrees of the Most High." Genesis describes the celestial bodies as creations of the fourth day. But Enoch saw more, a hidden realm where angels maintained the very fabric of time. If even the stars were ruled by unseen forces, what greater mysteries awaited above? The fifth heaven. As Enoch ascended into the fifth heaven, the radiance of the fourth heaven faded, replaced by a vast and desolate expanse where silence reigned. No light shone, no angelic choirs sang. Only a great army of towering warriors, the wingless angels, stood in endless ranks, motionless, their heads bowed in sorrow, their faces were solemn, their armors dark, and an overwhelming sense of despair hung over them. At first, they did not stir, as if time itself had frozen them in place. But when they beheld Enoch, a great cry arose, shattering the silence. These were the Grigori, the watchers who once served under Santanael, the mighty angel prince who rebelled and was cast out of heaven on the second day of creation. Though the Grigori had not descended to earth like their fallen brethren, they had followed Santanael's command and were now trapped in this forgotten realm, neither condemned nor redeemed. They fell to their knees and cried out to Enoch, "Righteous One, speak for us before the Lord. Intercede for us, for we are forsaken." Unlike the Satan of Christian tradition, who roams the earth and tempts mankind, Job 1:7, Revelation 12:9, Santanael's rebellion was immediate and final. He was stripped of his glory and cast down, leaving his followers abandoned in silence. If even these mighty angels were left in despair, what awaited in the heavens above, where divine judgment was absolute? The sixth heaven. As Enoch ascended into the sixth heaven, the sorrow of the fifth heaven faded, giving way to a realm of perfect order and divine purpose. Before him stretched an immense city of radiant halls, towering pillars, and vast courts, not built of stone, but woven from pure light and fire. The very air hummed with the sounds of quills scratching against scrolls and the soft murmur of voices reciting sacred decrees. Here, countless angels moved with purpose, neither warriors nor messengers, but scribes and divine record keepers. Clothed in robes whiter than snow, their faces shone with a quiet wisdom as they carefully inscribed the deeds of humanity onto vast scrolls and tablets. Some worked alone, writing upon glowing parchment, while others stood before majestic thrones where greater angels dictated the decrees of God that would shape the fates of men and nations. Turning to his guide, Enoch asked, "Who are these?" The angel replied, "These are the holy scribes who write the prayers of the righteous, the judgments of kings, and the destinies of the world. Nothing is forgotten, for all is written before the face of the Lord. If even the smallest of deeds were recorded in the heavens, what awaited beyond, where the highest mysteries of God were revealed?" The seventh heaven. As Enoch ascended into the seventh heaven, an overwhelming radiance engulfed him. Blinding light stretched infinitely in all directions, yet it did not burn. Rather, it filled him with awe and reverence. Before him stood the highest order of angels, beings of unimaginable majesty. The seraphim, towering figures of pure flame, each with 6 fiery wings, hovered above. With 2 wings they covered their faces, shielding themselves from the blinding presence of the Almighty. With 2 they covered their feet in humility, and with the last 2 they flew in endless motion, their voices echoing across eternity. "Holy, holy, holy is the Lord of hosts. The whole earth is full of his glory." Beside them stood the cherubim. Each had 4 faces, of a lion, an ox, an eagle, and a man, representing the fullness of creation. Their bodies were covered with countless all-seeing eyes, and they moved like lightning, their wings whispering with power. Beneath them were the thrones, beings of unimaginable grandeur. Their forms were vast, celestial wheels covered in burning eyes, endlessly turning in perfect harmony, bearing the divine will upon them. This was the first of 3 realms closest to the presence of the Most High, where even the greatest of angels veiled themselves before His majesty. For the first time, Enoch began to feel the presence of God, a force beyond comprehension, radiating through the very fabric of existence. The higher he ascended, the closer he came to the source of all creation. The eighth heaven. As Enoch ascended into the eighth heaven, the golden glow of the seventh faded, revealing a vast realm where the cosmos was set into motion. This was Muzaloth, where time, seasons, and celestial movements were decreed. Before him stood colossal storehouses containing the forces of nature, vaults of lightning, bound winds, and reservoirs of snow, hail, and rain, restrained by divine command. 1 Enoch 41, 1-2. Above them, 12 immense celestial gates glowed with ethereal light. As they opened, constellations emerged, moving with perfect order, guided by radiant angelic guardians. Turning to his guide, Enoch asked, "Where do these stars come from?" The angel replied, "From the ninth heaven, the realm of the fixed stars. These gates are their passage to declare the times and seasons of the earth." Enoch stood in awe. If even the heavens followed a divine decree, what greater mysteries lay beyond, in the ninth heaven, where the stars themselves were born. The ninth heaven. As Enoch ascended into the ninth heaven, he realized he had reached the true origin of the constellations, the very place from which they emerged before descending into the heavens below. Unlike the celestial realm of the eighth heaven, where the stars moved through gates to mark the passage of time, this was Kuchavim, the foundation of the heavens, where the great luminaries had been established since the dawn of creation. All around him, Enoch beheld colossal spheres of burning radiance, far more brilliant than the sun and moon of the lower heavens. The constellations, which had passed through the celestial gates of Muzaloth, were not wandering entities, but rulers of the cosmic order, each one assigned its place and function. 12 mighty constellations, representing the signs of the zodiac, stood arrayed like kings upon a divine map, their presence dictating the times and seasons of the world below. Between them, immense angelic sentinels moved with solemn grace, their robes woven from starlight, their eyes reflecting the boundless depths of the universe. Some stood watch over the ancient, unshifting stars, while others guided newborn luminaries into their destined places. Turning to his guide, Enoch asked, "Is this the highest of the heavens?" The angel replied, "No, for above this realm is Aravoth, the 10th heaven, where the Lord of all creation dwells upon his eternal throne." Enoch's spirit trembled, for he knew that beyond this domain lay the final ascent, the place where no created being could enter unless summoned by the Almighty himself. The 10th heaven. As Enoch ascended into the 10th heaven, all that he had known, the vast constellations of the 9th heaven, the celestial storehouses of the 8th, the angelic hosts of the lower realms, vanished into insignificance. He entered Aravoth, a realm so far beyond human comprehension that even his senses struggled to grasp its existence. Sight, sound, and time lost all meaning. It was not a place, but a state of pure divine presence, where even the greatest of angels trembled in awe. Here, light did not shine. It was existence itself. Sound did not echo. It was woven into the essence of reality. It was a domain beyond perception, beyond understanding, where even the highest celestial beings stood in eternal worship before the one who ruled over all. At the heart of this realm stood the throne of God, vaster than the universe, radiating a brilliance that no mortal eye could endure, yet no darkness could diminish. Surrounding it were seraphim, with wings of living fire, cherubim with countless eyes seeing into eternity, and thrones moving like endless wheels of light. Their voices, immeasurable in power, seemed as whispers before the one they worshipped. Holy, holy, holy is the Lord God Almighty, who was and is to come. And before this throne stood Michael, the great archangel, his form shining with an unbearable radiance. He turned to Enoch and spoke, "Behold, you have been brought before the Lord, the King of Kings, to receive the secrets of heaven and earth, of time and eternity. But know this, your journey does not end here." Michael then declared the will of the Almighty. Enoch would remain in the presence of God for all eternity, never tasting death. However, before his final ascension, he was to return to earth one last time, to deliver God's messages to mankind. Through him, the divine mysteries were to be written, the revelations of heaven and the warnings of judgment preserved in the Book of Enoch. Then, when his task was fulfilled, God would summon him once more, lifting him beyond mortality. No longer a man, he would be transformed into Metatron, the highest of all angels, clothed in robes of fire, his body turned into pure celestial light. His form would expand to fill the heavens, and upon him God would bestow 72 wings, each more radiant than the stars, and 365,000 eyes, so that nothing in creation would be hidden from his sight. His voice would echo through the cosmos, and he would sit beside the throne as the scribe of God, ruler over the celestial hosts, second only to the Almighty himself. Enoch fell to his face, overwhelmed by the decree. Though he could not fully comprehend the glory before him, he knew his destiny had been sealed by the Most High. In Christian tradition, Enoch's fate remains a mystery. The Bible states Enoch walked with God, then he was no more because God took him away. Genesis 5:24. Unlike the Book of Enoch, which details his celestial journey, Christian theology does not confirm his transformation into Metatron. Instead, he is seen as a man taken into God's presence, his role left undefined. But in the Book of Enoch, his destiny was far greater. He had witnessed the 10 heavens, seen God's glory, and learned the secrets of creation and judgment. His mission was to record these revelations for future generations. For days he wrote of the righteous, the wicked, and the coming flood. Then his time on earth ended. A great light descended, and before his family's eyes, Enoch was taken once more. Enoch, the man who walked with God, became an eternal witness, forever serving in the courts of heaven. If you're fascinated by hidden biblical mysteries, don't forget to like and subscribe for more deep dives into ancient texts.